Hi, I'm attorney Keith Johnson, and welcome to the second episode of the Lawyer's Lounge. You're tuned back in, so I must be doing something right. Thank you for joining us, though. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your support. I'm an attorney and a juvenile court judge. We're based here in Augusta, Georgia, but we want our voice to be worldwide. I played college football. I paid attention a little bit in school, and I was lucky to become a lawyer. I'm a regular guy just like everybody else. I've got a few things to say. I've seen a lot, and I hope we can have an honest conversation about current events, think a little bit, and have some fun in the process. Thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned. To really recap the first quarter of 2025, I can't believe how quickly it's gone. I mean, if you think about it, we were just doing our New Year's resolutions and counting down and doing all those things. How many of you have kept those New Year's resolutions? I know me personally, I don't make resolutions. I just try to figure out what I can do better, reflect a little bit, and try to do it incrementally. Nothing against folks who make those lists, but sometimes when you make a list, in my opinion, I think that is hard to keep up with. The gym is thinning out. I hope you're not one of those who made that New Year's resolution to lose weight, get in the gym, and have already fallen off before Masters Week here in Augusta, Georgia. But if you are, get back to it. It's no time like the present. Stick to the resolutions. Stick to what you want to do to make yourself a better person. That's all I can say about that. So let's recap some of the current events that's happened in the first quarter of this year. It's been crazy, but we knew that with Donald Trump taking office. We knew it was going to be some type of chaos, whether you are for or against Donald Trump. We knew he was coming in to shake things up. And a lot of the things that he's done have been impactful. Let's start with the executive orders. And I have a little list because I really can't keep up with all the chaos that's been going on in DC. So we'll start with the birthright citizenship. So I touched on that a little bit in the first episode. Essentially, what Donald Trump has done is he has tried to take away birthright citizenship in America. It's a fundamental part of this country ever since its founding, meaning if you have a child that's born in the borders of the United States of America, that child is a citizen of the country, regardless of where the parents are from. Well, in the executive order, Donald Trump's trying to take away that right. He's blaming illegal immigration on skyrocketing the population of the U.S. So he's trying to do away with it. Well, it's been challenged, and rightfully so. The president, no matter who it is, cannot trump the well-settled law in this country without some kind of act of Congress by way of a constitutional amendment that would then be voted on by the states. So I can really tell you that this is dead on arrival. It won't happen. Birthright citizenship is here to stay, and you'll see it play out throughout the course of this year. Second, he's just signed an executive order to make English the official language of the U.S. Once again, this is a melting pot country. This is what we've been founded on. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Welcome one, welcome all. But he's trying to essentially make English the language of the country, and we'll see if that has any impact or any effect on your everyday life. A lot of these things will impact you, some won't. Also, he's actually done something that I kind of agree with, which is he's declassified the investigations into the assassinations of John F. Kennedy Jr. and Martin Luther King Jr. For those of you who are into conspiracy theories, this may be very, very informative. It may be helpful. It may be something to talk about. And so that is pretty cool to be able to look back and see what was done in the mid-'60s when these events happened and whether there was any cover-up. I know there's been a lot of discussion, documentaries about both of those unfortunate events. Both of those men were heroes ahead of their time, and they were taken away from us too early. So we would like to know how that all played out and if the government had any role in it. Also, he has really prohibited the federal government from using DEI or diversity and inclusion initiatives essentially affirmative action. And he has prohibited that by way of executive order that will also face a legal challenge. And so it kind of tells you what his agenda is, which is he believes that people who are minorities, that can include women, by the way, not just black folk, all right? So think about it from that point of view. He believes that minorities in the government have essentially been placed in positions that they may not be qualified for. So he wants to take that as a criteria out of consideration when applying for a job. I believe we should have diverse perspectives. I believe you make the best decision when you have people from different backgrounds bringing their knowledge, their life experiences, and their skill set to the table so we can see the perspective from all different angles. Obviously, everybody doesn't agree with that, and that's what this executive order kind of outlines. And so we'll see how that plays out. Moving away from the executive orders, though, Elon Musk. I mean, we should really call him Vice President Musk. You see him more than you see J.D. Vance. All right. My theory is that before the end of this year, 2025, they will fall out. Trump and Elon Musk will fall out. Two massive egos, two men who are not used to be told no. They will have some kind of disagreement. And I believe with the ego of President Trump, he will turn on Elon Musk. We've seen it with all of his close friends and allies in the first term. And so that'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. Will Elon Musk take a back seat to President Trump? Or will he say something, speak out of turn, that's then gonna challenge the ego of President Trump and could cause some kind of public fallout? We've already seen Tesla stocks have taken a hit, and that ain't good. That ain't good. We don't like that. However, Elon Musk has now become a political figure. And guess what? People are voting with their wallets. They are not buying Teslas. Some of the cars are being vandalized, which we don't really, condone in any way. But it goes to show that people are paying attention. And he is the leader and the CEO and founder of the company. And now his business has suffered to some extent because of the political positions that he's taken. And really, quite frankly, the way that he's doing it. He's really bold. He's been really brash. And if we talk about citizenship, he wasn't born in America. He's a South African. But that's for another day. All right, let's talk about these tariffs. And these tariffs have been something that I'm sure a lot of people really had never heard of a tariff before. So let me break it down for you. A tariff is a tax on incoming goods from another country, whether it's steel or whether it's food or whether it's technology. The US and other countries impose a tax on those items. A lot of times it's very low because countries are trading partners. It's a global economy. Trust me, all you have to do is look at the tag on the inside of your shirts. You'll see a lot of it's not made here. Maybe the only product that you may have that's made here is your iPhone, okay? So it's very, very rare to have these high tariffs, especially on our neighbors, Mexico and Canada. And we've seen Canada has responded. Ontario has imposed tariffs and taxes on the United States as well, and they have the power to affect the power grid, actually, of the citizens of upstate New York and some parts of Michigan, because they do share a power source. And so the economy has already seen a hit with the stock market, and also economists are saying that our chances of a recession have greatly increased from 15% in January to now 30% in April. Think about that for just a second. We may go into a recession because of these tariffs. The tariffs were supposed to protect American workers. President Trump campaigned on it. So we can't say we didn't know about it. So all you who voted for him, this is what we're getting. This is what he said. He said it's going to be tough on China, going to be tough on Canada, tough on Mexico, and that's what he's doing. Will it affect your wallet in a positive way? Right now, it looks like it will not. What will be the political effects for President Trump of this decision? Will Americans turn on him? Or will they take the long view that this may bring jobs back to the U.S.? This may make factories come back to the U.S. and produce their products in the United States, because it becomes more expensive to sell your products if you're coming from out of the country. That's the rationale, but it's very untraditional, and we'll see how it plays out. Because what I'm concerned about is the everyday American. Can you go to the store, get what you need to get for your family without paying additional money? Because we know that wages are not going up. We know that jobs are still paying around the same amount, but you're paying more. And so whoever can answer that question politically will have a leg up going into the midterms of 2026. Another crazy thing that's been happening this first quarter is the plane crashes and just the amount of dysfunction that's been happening with our airports and our runways. If you think about the tragedy in DC where a helicopter collides with a plane that is descending at Reagan Airport. I've flown into there many times. And to think that these people were putting on their seatbelts, presumably getting ready for landing, and out of the blue, their lives were taken. Where's the radar? What was going on? And your president blamed it on DEI. That's what he did. That's the first thing that he said when he addressed it the day after the incident. Then you think about the plane crashing in Toronto. It's amazing that no one died. The plane was literally upside down and it slid to a halt. We've had other incidents as well. Is air travel still safe? I certainly hope so, because that's how we get around. We've become desensitized to it because it has been so safe for so long. But in the United States, we've seen that these accidents have been rearing their head. This is a national issue. This is something that we need to figure out immediately, because you have to be able to travel safely with peace of mind. It affects everyone, it affects our loved ones, and it's something that I hope that we all are taking seriously. But don't stop traveling. I know it may sound like a contradiction, but what you have to do is continue to live your life, make the best decisions possible, and keep in mind, traveling in a car is 20 times more dangerous than traveling in a plane. We just become very, very used to traveling in cars, but we see car wrecks every day, unfortunately. So I believe we'll get a handle on this. I trust our air traffic controllers. I know they're doing the very best that they can, and these pilots are doing the very best that they can. We just have to make sure that they're getting the rest that they need, that they're not being overworked, that these airline companies are giving the pilots the time that they need in between shifts so that they're sharp, and that they're not trying to fit all these flights in to just make a little bit more money, because our lives obviously are priceless. And rest in peace to all those dear souls that passed away. Did you hear the news? Jay-Z and Sean Combs' lawsuit has been dismissed. You'll recall attorney Tony Busby filed a lawsuit earlier in the year alleging that Sean Combs and Sean Carter were involved in basically rape of a 13-year-old. Jay-Z came out really hard, to his credit, against it. The NFL even had to give a statement as to whether they were going to continue that business relationship with Mr. Carter. And it all turned out to be false. And I take this one pretty personally as well, because as an attorney, you hear the attorney jokes. There are some people who don't like what we do, and I understand it. When you see things like this seemed to be a frivolous lawsuit from the very beginning. When the young lady was interviewed, she couldn't recall a lot of things. She said that her father picked her up. Her father said, I would have remembered that. She said that she was alone with these men at 13 years old and was brutally assaulted. Keep in mind, Jay-Z's daughter is around 12 years old. He had to explain this to his daughter. He had to explain this to his wife. Thank God they believed him. Thank God he had the resources to have counsel who pushed back on it, who made sure that the truth came out. What's the recourse? I know he's filed a countersuit, but what's the recourse for lying on somebody? Like, we are in a society where you can look back at the comments on Instagram and other social media platforms. People were throwing him in prison already. It became a joke. The comment section was just a place for slander. That's what celebrities and people who are in the public eye have to deal with when it's just a mere allegation. I guess a lot of people didn't pay attention in civics class when they said that you have to prove things in our court system, even on the civil side. You have to prove that someone broke the law. Where's the presumption of innocence in our country? Is it just to get a click? Are the headlines the most important thing? Or will we really get back to the fundamental question, which is, if you drag somebody into court, be willing to prove it. Be willing to stand by what you have alleged and be willing to allow the process to play out. Thank goodness for Jay-Z and for Sean Combs that the truth came out early in the process. How many individuals who don't have those resources have to deal with the slander, with the punishment, with the life-changing consequences of being accused of something very heinous? My motto is, let's save it for court. Let's let the jury decide. But until then, our Constitution demands a presumption of innocence. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson that we have to take it easy, back away. Let's let some time pass. Let's let the facts come out before we render judgment. Because you could build a whole career, 30 years of doing the right thing, trying to lead the right way, and have one allegation derail your whole reputation. Who wants to live in a society like that? What reasonable, rational adult wants to live in a society where your name can be slandered at the drop of a dime? And this is nothing against real victims of sexual assault. We always want to defend and stick up for them. But there's a time and a place, there's a process to vet out all the allegations so that we can have a truthful outcome, not one that's based on jealousy, lies, or slander. Tony Busby, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now that we've unpacked the major headlines shaping the first quarter, I want to talk about the legal issue of this episode, which will be prenuptial agreements, commonly referred to as prenups. Now, before you think that, what's this criminal attorney talking about this for? Listen, I believe this can affect everybody. And it's not just the celebrities or those who have great wealth. I think the major issue is, does the average American need a prenup before going into a relationship? That's the question that I want to answer today. Prenups, do they kill the romance or are they love insurance? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but 50% of marriages end in divorce. It just is what it is. So if we know that, and if we know that marriage is a legal contract, I'm not talking about spiritual love. I'm not talking about matters of the heart. I'm talking about a legal contract. You have said we're going to put the government involved in our relationship. And if it doesn't work out, many times you're going to be a little poor at the end of that. I hope everybody stays married forever. But I want to give you some tips and some things to think about when you're going through the process of whether to even bring it up. So I have a few notes here. We've all seen these high-end divorces, whether that's Kanye and Kim, whether that's Tiger Woods and his former wife, whether that's Jeff Bezos paying millions of dollars to a spouse who did not help them come up with the idea that took off and changed the world. But per the law, half. Think about this for a second. We all have exes, whether you're married or not. Think about your ex, one that you really just still don't care for. And they got half of all that you've earned. Think about that. How does that feel? That don't feel good, does it? Well, that's essentially what happens if you don't have a prenuptial agreement. It could be your retirement. It could be your pension. It could be the profits from your business that you have accumulated throughout the years. Some people say, hey, that's the cost of being married. But I think we should talk about this, and I think we should get all the facts out there. So who really needs a prenup? Is it just for the rich, or can it be for the everyday Americans? I think it could be for the everyday Americans. It protects you in the event that the relationship doesn't work out. So if you own a business, it may be a good idea to have a prenuptial agreement. If you have kids from a previous relationship, or if they do, it may be a good idea to have a prenuptial agreement. Why? Because you don't want to be bearing the cost of anything that you don't need to be quite honest with you, right? You want to have a clean break in the event that that happens. If you own a home, if you inherited money, if you have assets that you want to remain yours, that you're bringing into the relationship, you should consider a prenuptial agreement. Even if you build wealth together, a prenup can define who gets what in the event that the relationship does not turn out in the way that you want it to. Hey fellas, what would you do if the girl of your dreams, I mean, she's bad, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's kind, and she slides the prenup across the table after a nice dinner? How would you respond? Will you be offended? Or will you say, hey, listen, we get everything on the front end ironed out so we don't have to worry about finances? What would be your reaction? Most couples break up over finance. Did you know that? So if you want to take that out of the equation, you may want to consider a prenuptial agreement. A prenup keeps family property and inheritances safe. If you own a home, like I said, or business, you want to really consider this. Chris Rock made a joke one time. He said, if you have 30 million and she takes 15, it hurts, but you'll be fine. But if you got 30,000 and she takes 15, you got a problem. Why don't we think like that? Why do we think that prenups are just for those who are rich? I know so many men and women who come to attorneys and they want to get a divorce, but the first thing they say is, I can't afford it. Think about that for 1 second. You are miserable. You don't like coming home. You are trying to do everything you can to medicate yourself. And you're staying because of finances. In my opinion, we got one life to live. So you're gonna hear the truth. You need to protect your assets before you go into the relationship, before you go into the marriage. It doesn't mean you're not romantic. It doesn't mean that you're planning to fail. It just means that you're getting those tough issues out of the way. And think about it like this. If the woman or man of your dreams doesn't want to marry you because you want to protect your assets in the event that they do something crazy, red flag, red flag. Because nothing is promised. That's only in fairy tales and Disney movies. And let me just say this. When you're going through a divorce, it can be a very difficult time emotionally. It can be a very difficult time financially, for the children, for the family as a whole. Take one less thing off the table, one less thing that you have to worry about. Because if it's a clear prenup where it lays out the terms of who gets what, when they get what, then the court will respect that. Courts will respect the agreement between both parties as long as no one alleges that they were coerced or that the terms were changed or something of that nature. So think about it from this standpoint. If you want to protect your assets, if you want to protect yourself financially, but also have the peace of mind that you're entering into a relationship with a clean slate, you might want to consider a prenuptial agreement. You might want to be able to have a hard conversation with this person that you say you love, that you're going to love forever. We can't gloss over these things. It's an insurance policy on love. And as an attorney, we're taught to anticipate the worst. I know. It messes you up in your own life because we try to anticipate the problems of our clients. But if you are going to be smart and then you're going to be proactive, it's a conversation that good couples will have, and they will know that it has nothing to do with the love. It has nothing to do with whether the relationship will work. It has everything to do with planning. It has everything to do with transparency. So fellas, as a lawyer, I'm gonna tell you this. You should really consider getting a prenup. I don't care what your net worth is, okay? You can have a net worth of $5 million. You can have a net worth of $5,000. It doesn't matter. Consider that. Now, if we're at the barbershop talking, I tell you that you need to say it in a certain way. Make sure that your honey knows you're not going anywhere. Make sure that she knows that this is something that you've just been thinking about. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out, because I do know that there's a dynamic here that is tricky. I get that. But at the end of the day, the right partner, male or female, is going to hear you out. They're going to look at it from your point of view, even if they don't agree. And if they can't, that should tell you everything that you need to know. Now, I think it's also important for us to talk about who doesn't need a prenup. If both partners have equal assets, or if both partners have minimal assets, then you may not need to get a prenup. If you agree to a simple split, you may not need to get a prenup. But once again, if you are agreeing to a simple split and there's a prenup that would also agree to a simple split, it would make more sense to have it in writing. Because as we know, if it is a divorce, feelings probably are not the same as they were as you were making that agreement. And so I just want you to advocate for yourself. I want you to see a little bit past the feeling of being in love right now and think about your long-term interest of that of your children as well. That's how I think you should approach the issue. I love love. I believe in romance, but I've seen too many people financially ruined because of a bad relationship. And if it doesn't work out, you can thank me later. Anyway, that wraps up episode 2 of the Lawyers Lounge. We tried to have a little fun today, talk about an issue that we really don't talk about a lot. We don't talk about enough. Love is a wonderful thing. Divorce is a bad thing. But if you prepare yourself for the worst, you can live your life to the best, and you don't have to worry about all the messy fights that could follow. Thank you for tuning in once again. We're just getting started. We're going to have guests. We're going to have callers. We're going to get this thing cranking. We're going to have some fun. Thank you so much. God bless.